Hi, everybody. I want to thank you for joining us today. My name is Nick Ulrich with Scott Electric, and with me we have Dave Pusha. He is the District Sales Manager of the Northeast for Cooper Lighting, and we're going to be going over UV lighting fixtures and what Cooper Lighting has to offer.
Hi, everyone. Dave Pusha here. Excited to be talking to you guys today about something that, to be frank, I never thought I would talk to you about as a lighting person. But unfortunately, we find ourselves in the situation today with the pandemic where I'm going to talk to you about non-visible light. That's right. You heard it correctly. The lighting guy from Cooper Lighting Solutions is going to talk to you about non-visible light. And we're going to talk about some fixtures in our fail-safe brand with Cooper Lighting Solutions. And why is it that we're going to talk about non-visible light today in the ultraviolet spectrum that you can see on your screen here today? And the reason is that within the ultraviolet spectrum that the human eye cannot see, is lighting is very effective. The ultraviolet range runs from 100 nanometers, as you can see on your screen, to 400 nanometers. 100 to 200 is basically vacuum UV. That's not something that we're interested in at all. But within the UVC, the UVB, and the UVA ranges from 200 to 400, it has been proven very effective at inactivating viruses and killing bacteria. Our parent company, Signify, and we use a mercury vapor lamp, and I'll get into a little bit. That's kind of one of the questions I get quite a lot, is why a lamp and why not LED? And we'll jump into that. But let's talk about the spectrum of light in the UV spectrum and the different nanometers of light. So our parent company, Signify Philips Lighting, that's the lamp that we use, and they've been in this business for about 35 years. So this is not a new technology. And they've put a lot of R&D into specifically the UVC nanometer range of ultraviolet lighting. The UVC range, and you probably hear a lot of it on the news, is the range that has been shown to be extremely effective at inactivating viruses and killing bacteria. What the Philips engineers have found is that the 254 nanometer range is the most effective. They've studied all the different ranges, and we still do to this day, in both lamp technologies and LED technologies. But what we found is that the 254 nanometer range within the UVC band is the most effective at inactivating viruses and killing bacteria. Why is that? And what we can provide to your team, so you can provide to your customers, is there's actually an independent study from Boston University that proves that at 254 nanometers in the UVC band, we can inactivate the COVID-19 virus. No one else out there can make this claim. It's an independent lab study. That's really why we focus on the 254 nanometer range. It's the least expensive range. Now, there are other companies who have other products out in both the far UV range and the near UV range. They're more expensive, and they're not as effective at inactivating viruses or killing bacteria.
Dave, I hear you saying inactivates. What does that mean when we inactivate the virus?
So what happens, and that's a great question. So if the virus is either two places, it's on the surface of a desk, let's use that as an example, or it's in the air. The UVC in a surface situation, it's going to get fired up in our fixtures, and the UVC is going to travel through the air, disinfecting the air. And then it's going to hit the virus on the surface, and it's going to attack the DNA of that virus. The chart you can kind of see in the top right here. And it's going to break up the DNA within the virus, rendering it inactive, in effect killing the virus so it cannot get us sick. And it's going to do the same thing with our upper air units that we're going to talk about. With the upper air units, we're going to shoot the UVC at the 254 nanometers across the ceiling. The UVC will be basically an invisible band of disinfecting nanometers, and it's going to work with the natural convection of the air in the building, so the HVAC unit. And as the virus in the air passes through the band of UVC at the ceiling, hot air rising, it's going to, again, attack that DNA of the COVID-19 virus, in this case, breaking up the DNA of that virus, effectively killing it so it cannot make us sick.
My understanding of UV lighting is that it's harmful in some ways for the person using it. What is that about?
It is harmful to a human skin, much like the sun can be harmful to the human skin. We do in the surface disinfection case. So when we're going to use the fixtures to disinfect a classroom surface, we can't have anyone in the space. And why is that? It's because UV within all of the ranges that we put up there and we talked about is harmful to a human skin and eyes. With the skin, it's going to cause erythema, which is similar to a mild sunburn. And this is over a prolonged period of time. With your eyes, it's going to cause something called photokeratitis. The analogy I like to use is if anyone's ever done any welding and you've used a welding torch, kicks off a pretty bright flame. If you looked at that flame without protective eyewear on, you get kind of like a momentary blindness known as welder's flash. That's what it would do for prolonged periods of time. So with the surface disinfection fixtures, you have to make sure for the fixture or for the system to be UL certified, that there's a lot of safeguards that we need to make sure are in place, that we sell the whole complete system through your team, and we can go over some of those safeguards. But very important to know with UV light, non-visible, 254 nanometers is where it's at. Why? Because we got an independent case study that it inactivates the COVID-19 virus at that range. You got to know it's harmful to humans. And then we'll jump into some of the different safeguards here shortly.
Dave, how did Cooper Lighting make sure that safety was the primary focus for these UV lights?
So safety is paramount. Safety is the most important thing that we look at. And how we address that is we actually worked with UL, and we were able to work with them and come up with standards with UL to get a UL certified system for our fixtures. So some of the different fixtures that we have available right now that we can put the 254 nanometer UVC lamps into are, we have a high bay, we have a strip, we have an under cabinet, we have a troffer, and we have a parabolic. Your team can come to us, and let's just say you have a gym that wants to be disinfected. We can do a disinfection layout. So you can get us the CAD drawings of the space, and we can come back, and much like we do a lighting layout today, and it looks very similar to a lighting layout, except the numbers aren't light levels, it's actually disinfection levels. So you can give us a CAD drawing of a gym, and we can come back and say, okay, we put 6 of these high bays in there and run them for 11 minutes. We're going to give you a 99.99% disinfection of everything in that space line of sight. We mentioned before that it's harmful to humans. So what are the safeguards that we put in? So you have to have push buttons installed for every space. And then you have to have magnetic sensors installed on the windows and the doors. And if you look at the bottom right, this is to be UL certified. So these are actually UL standards that we worked with them on. And we can provide not only the disinfection layout, but we can do the safety layout for you as well. So let's just say this is Nick's office here on the left, one fixture in the space, and we can come back and say, okay, if you run this fixture for 20 seconds, and that's the thing, the disinfection and the time that you need to run these fixtures for are not long at all. But what the safeguards that we have to use, using the example of Nick's office on the left, that office has a window, that office has a door. So we'd have to have a magnetic sensor on the window and the door. And the magnetic sensor is very similar to anyone that has a security system in their home, the magnetic sensor that you'd put on your doors and your windows. So the door has to be closed in order to arm. So those magnetic sensors will have to arm. And then the push button is actually double verification. So not only do the magnetic sensors arm on the doors and the windows, but the certified user has to physically go to the space, hit the push button as well to verify that the space is empty. And then you can hit start, ready, go, and turn a key to turn on the system to disinfect for whatever the time range is that we gave you the layout for to get that 99.99% disinfection rate. Lots of safeguards. Again, I said safety's paramount.
Hey, Dave, as a marketing manager, I know that I probably wouldn't be able to install these, but these are just really general installations for a contractor that's able to install the fixtures and these controls. There's no special training, correct, that they would need?
Yeah, no special training at all. This is no different than this is simpler, quite frankly, than the layouts that your team and the Edge group are doing and that your contractors are doing right now. I like using pictures. Here's kind of the wiring schematic that we have. It's basically line voltage, black and a green wire tied off into the GUV control panel. And then downstream of all those panels is class 2 wiring. So low voltage wiring to the GUV control station there on the left, the push buttons and the magnetic switches that we talked about. So certainly nothing that's super complicated at all.
All right, so we can take care of most of the things. We'll set it up, do the layout. We'll make sure that they have all the right controls for it. And like you said, the installation seems like it's something that anybody could, who's in the field can do.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Dave, kind of where we're at right now with people having to, clean up and do disinfection all the time, businesses and whatnot. Do we expect this UV lighting, surface cleaning to replace that? You don't have to bring the spray bottle out and wipe down the counters with this UV lighting. Is that going to be the big fix here?
I've put a lot of thought into that question. And some of the research I've done, fogging an office or a gym is very expensive. Anyone that owns a building would know that, especially now. It's super expensive, but I don't think it's going to be a solution for everyone. I think that it's important to know that it's out there, and I think it's going to have its place. The safeguards, although they're very easy to install, it can be tough in a retrofit situation because you got to run a lot of wires all over the place. The wiring methods are easy, but opening up walls and stuff is not easy. So it's important to know that it's out there. Quite frankly, I'm super, super excited about the upper air disinfection units that we're going to show you guys. I think that's going to be mainstream everywhere for everyone. It's going to be super excited to go over that with you.
Dave, it seems like Cooper Lighting has really put a lot of thought into the safety of these products for the end user. Obviously, that's the key point in keeping our customers safe. You talked about surface, and then you were just talking about the upper air. So how is that? That seems like it's a safer option.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we kind of got to think about where we were when the pandemic began, and we were really rushing these fixtures out to market. So back in June, everyone was super worried about the coronavirus on surfaces. I mean, I order a pizza on a Friday night with my family. My wife had me wipe down the pizza box with Lysol, and I'm sure all you guys were doing the same thing. We got groceries, we're wiping down the bag, we were wiping down all the groceries before we put them in the fridge or the pantry. But what's happened since then? So since June, and this is another independent study I'm going to go over with you guys, and I'll get it out, is the CDC has actually come out and said, hey, you're more likely to get the coronavirus from the air than you are from a surface. Back in June, we were really rushing those surface fixtures out, and we kind of put our upper air units, which you can see here on the bottom left, on the back burner. We weren't going to bring them out until the mid-2021. So we've actually, with that CDC study and the revelation that you're more likely to get the coronavirus from the air than you are from a surface. Why I think that they're going to be prime time is because the fixtures can be used while the space is occupied. That's a big deal. There's certain mounting and spacing criterias that we have to meet that are laid out right on the spec sheets that we can get you guys. But as long as we meet these spacing criterias, the product is safe and it'll work with the natural convection of a building to disinfect the air and the virus in the air as the hot air rises in a building and the cold air falls. So natural convection, and it helps disinfect the air. And we can actually work off the general mounting criteria, or we can go super deep and actually give you a disinfection layout for the air units as well, and come back and let you know how often the air in a space will be disinfected. And we can mount them while the spaces are occupied. So I don't know about you guys, but I'm out of Syracuse, New York. Every restaurant, bar is begging to get patrons back into the facility. We're actually, so I can't see a restaurant, a bar that wouldn't want to put this in. We're actually competing with HEPA filters. HEPA filters catch the virus. They don't inactivate it and break up that DNA. And HEPA filters are super expensive, and it's super hard to retrofit an HVAC system. You got to cut into ductwork. This is a much better solution at a more cost competitive price.
I know that going into places, it is uncomfortable to me. So that's absolutely the effect. If somebody is coming into a restaurant and knows that they have these types of light fixtures that are going to make it safe in that area, that's just a peace of mind would bring people in without disrupting, anything that you'd done in the past. It's going to feel more normal. Dave, you said there were two different upper air units that you had. What are the differences between those?
So we have a wall mount unit that you can see here. It comes white or black. It's not very obtrusive. It's only about 2 feet wide and about 6 inches in length. But the spacing criteria is you have to be 8.3 feet off the floor, and you need to be 4 inches drop from the ceiling. So in effect, you need about 9-foot ceilings, and we can install this in a space, universal voltage. We can install this in a space, and we can utilize it to disinfect the air while the space is occupied. And then we have a ceiling unit as well. This can drop into a 2x2 grid, as you can see by the picture there in the bottom right, or we can give you a dry wall frame kit. And basically with these, you need 9-foot ceilings, and we're going to put them 12 feet on center, spaced apart, staggered. You can't have them right next to each other, or else the beams could refract into the space. That's not safe. So that going back to safety being.
Dave, I'm looking at the picture down below, and I see it's got a little bit of blue light there. I'm thinking like a consumer here. If I can see that blue light on the center mount, ceiling mount, or the wall unit, is that unsafe for me?
No, so real good question. So it's non-visible light, but you can tell when the units are on. It's going to give off that when the lamps are fired up, it's going to give off a bluish hue. And the little fins on this ceiling unit here are actually what we use to refract the UVC band of light across, and we're refracting it across the ceiling. So all of the stuff that could damage a human, going back to it being harmful, is up on the ceiling, mounted above 8.3 feet. That's where those mounting standards come in. And as long as you stick to the mounting standards and the on spacing standards in the instruction sheet, it cannot be harmful to you, even if you see that blue light on. It's actually a nice way to know that the system is working.
Now, Dave, obviously we have the two upper air units. What do you think that for the ceiling mount and for the wall mount, what does that market look like?
I truly believe the market is just completely untapped. I think you have restaurants that are trying to get patrons back in. I think you have bars that want to get patrons back in, schools that are very worried, rightfully so, about their students. They want to keep them safe. I just think that the sheer fact of how easy it is to install, and that it can be used while a facility is occupied. Offices who want to get employees back to work. In fact, the virus does spread through the air. We know that now with the CDC report, and how cost effective these units are compared to retrofitting an HVAC system and HEPA filters. I just think that everyone is going to want to install these everywhere. I'm super excited about it. The other thing that we have from a marketing standpoint that we can offer our customers is a little sticker that they can put on the door that basically says, and we're the only ones who can provide this because of that 254 nanometer range that we operate at, and the fact that it's been clinically proven by Boston University to inactivate the COVID virus, that the facility's is utilizing Cooper Lighting Solutions fail-safe GUV technology to help keep their patrons safe. And I've talked a lot about the coronavirus. Hopefully we get a vaccine soon and we're out of this. But these products, they attack all pathogens, not just the coronavirus, the seasonal flu, any new viruses that we're going to have to worry about, any bacteria, any mold. While we're spending a lot of time on the coronavirus right now, and rightfully so, I think the whole pandemic from a market standpoint has awoken everyone to, geez, we got to look at disinfecting not only spaces but certainly the air. So I think that this where I'm going with that is this isn't going away when the coronavirus goes away. These products are going to become mainstream, and we're super excited to partner with you guys and be able to offer a solution.
What about the availability on these upper air units? You have these surface units in June. Are the upper air units, are they available now?
So we have the surface units are in stock now. Again, we launched those first. The upper air units, which are going to be prime time all over the place. So you can give us an order right now. We can get them to you in 4 to 6 weeks.
Dave, as we were talking throughout today, I'm sitting there thinking, how big of a room can these fixtures be effective in?
They can be effective in any size room. Obviously, the larger the room, we're going to have to put more units in. 2 different ways that we can go about doing a layout. The gist of it is, if you just put one in a space, you're still doing a heck of a lot more than you were doing before.
The thing I'd like to remember is that's what our Scott Electric salesmen and our Edge Group guys are for. So they can figure all this out and make it easy for whoever is interested in getting these products. But Dave, thank you very much for all your information today.
Thanks for having me, Nick. Appreciate it, and look forward to hearing from the Scott team and from all the customers, and anything we can do for anyone. We're here to help, and we appreciate everyone. Have a wonderful day.